Earth had always been a small blue dot in the vast darkness of space. For thousands of years, humans believed they were alone in the universe. They were wrong. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday morning when every telescope on Earth pointed toward the same spot in space. Dr. Maria Santos was drinking coffee in her laboratory when the alarms started screaming. She dropped her cup and ran to the main screen. "What is that?" she whispered. The screen showed massive ships appearing out of nowhere. They were huge, bigger than any building on Earth. The ships had strange shapes that hurt to look at. Some looked like twisted metal spears, while others resembled floating crystals that glowed with purple light. Within hours, more ships arrived. Hundreds of them filled the space around Earth. The ships divided into two groups, each staying on opposite sides of the planet. The tension between them was clear even from millions of miles away. President Jackson called an emergency meeting. World leaders gathered in the secure bunker beneath Washington. General Hayes, the head of Earth's defense forces, stood at the front of the room with a grim expression. "We have identified two different alien fleets," he said, pointing to the screen. "The first group appears to be military vessels. They have aggressive designs and are heavily armed. We're calling them the Hegemony." The screen showed the spear-like ships. They were dark gray and covered in weapon ports. Sharp edges ran along their hulls like the teeth of a giant shark. "The second group is different," Hayes continued. "Their ships are more elegant, almost artistic. They seem to use some kind of energy technology we don't understand. We're calling them the Assembly." The crystal ships floated gracefully through space. They pulsed with soft light and moved without any visible engines. Something about them felt alive, as if the ships themselves were thinking. "What do they want?" asked the president. Before anyone could answer, every communication device on Earth received the same message. The voice was cold and mechanical, clearly translated by some alien computer. "Primitive species of the third planet, you are now witnesses to a conflict that has raged for 10,000 years. Your world sits at a strategic location between our territories. We will use your space as a battlefield. Remain on your surface and you will not be harmed." The message ended. Seconds later, another voice spoke. This one sounded musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Inhabitants of the blue world, the Hegemony speaks lies. They will show you no mercy. We of the Assembly offer protection, but your planet must serve as our forward base. This is not a choice. This is necessity." General Hayes turned to the president. "Sir, we need to respond. We can't let them fight over our planet. What can we do?" President Jackson asked. "Our most advanced ships are barely capable of reaching Mars. These aliens crossed the galaxy to get here." Hayes straightened his shoulders. "We have 12 orbital defense platforms and 200 fighter craft. It's not much, but we have to try." The president nodded slowly. "Send them a message. Tell both groups that Earth is neutral territory and we won't allow fighting in our space." The communications officer typed quickly. Earth's message went out on all frequencies. The response came immediately from both alien fleets. The Hegemony voice was harsh and angry. "Your primitive vessels are not a threat. Remove them, or we will remove them for you." The Assembly voice remained musical but carried a note of sadness. "Young species, you do not understand the forces at work here. Your tiny ships cannot affect the outcome of this war." General Hayes looked at the president. "They're not taking us seriously, sir." "Deploy the fleet anyway," Jackson ordered. "We have to protect our people." Earth's small fleet launched from orbital stations around the planet. The ships were sleek and white, designed for defense rather than war. They took positions between the alien fleets and Earth, a thin line of human courage against impossible odds. Commander Sarah Chen led the fleet from the bridge of the Earth defense ship Courage. She was young for a commander, only 35, but she had trained her entire life for this moment. Her dark eyes focused on the tactical display showing the massive alien forces. "All ships maintain formation," she ordered. "We're not here to win a fight. We're here to make a statement." The alien fleets ignored the human ships completely. Instead, they began moving toward each other. The Hegemony vessels formed attack formations while the Assembly ships created complex patterns that seemed to have some deeper meaning. The first shots came without warning. Beams of red energy lashed out from the Hegemony ships. The Assembly vessels responded with bursts of purple light that twisted space itself. The battle had begun. Commander Chen watched in horror as the alien weapons struck each other's shields. The energy releases were massive, bright enough to be seen from Earth's surface. Each shot contained more power than humanity had ever produced. "Sir," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving damage reports from the surface. The energy discharges are affecting our satellites and power grids." Chen gritted her teeth. The aliens weren't even aiming at Earth, but their war was already hurting her planet. She opened a channel to both fleets. "This is Commander Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are causing damage to our planet. We demand that you move your battle away from our space." A hegemony ship turned its attention to the human fleet. The vessel was enormous, easily 100 times larger than the largest Earth ship. Weapon ports opened along its hull like hungry mouths. "Insects," the mechanical voice said. "You have been warned." Red beams lashed out at the human ships. Commander Chen watched 3 of her vessels disappear in flashes of light. There were no explosions, no debris. The ship simply stopped existing, all ships' evasive maneuvers. Chen shouted, but it was already too late. More red beams struck the human fleet. Ship after ship vanished under the alien fire. The Earth vessels tried to return fire, but their weapons bounced harmlessly off the alien shields. In less than 5 minutes, the entire Earth defense fleet was destroyed. Commander Chen's ship was the last to die. As the red beam approached her bridge, she had time for one final thought. This wasn't over. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. The alien fleets returned to their battle as if nothing had happened. They fought above Earth's sky while debris from their weapons fell like burning rain on the cities below. Millions of people looked up at the flashing lights and knew their world had changed forever. In his bunker, President Jackson stared at the empty tactical display. Every ship, every brave soul who had tried to defend Earth was gone. The aliens had brushed aside humanity's best efforts like a human might wave away a fly. "What do we do now?" someone asked. Jackson closed his eyes and thought of a conversation he'd had with Admiral Hayes months ago. There had been mention of something called Protocol Omega, a plan so secret that only a handful of people knew it existed. "Get me Admiral Sarah Chen," he said quietly. "Sir, Commander Chen was killed when her ship was destroyed." "No," Jackson said. "Not Commander Sarah Chen, Admiral Sarah Chen, and patch me through on the Omega frequency." The room fell silent. Protocol Omega was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what they had truly awakened. The war above Earth grew worse each day. The alien fleets battled with weapons that turned night into day and day into fire. Chunks of destroyed ships fell from the sky like metal rain, crushing buildings and starting fires that burned for days. In New York, Maria Rodriguez hugged her children as another piece of alien wreckage crashed into the street outside their apartment. The ground shook and car alarms screamed throughout the city. Through her window, she could see the flashing lights of the battle raging in space. "Mama, when will it stop?" her daughter asked. Maria had no answer. The aliens had been fighting for 3 weeks now, and Earth was caught in the middle. The news said that millions of people had already died from falling debris and energy discharges that fried electronic systems across the planet. The aliens didn't care about human suffering. They had made that clear in their broadcasts. The hegemony called humans local fauna and promised to minimize damage to primitive life forms. The assembly was slightly more polite, referring to humans as developing sentients who should remain calm during the transition period. Both messages made it clear that Earth was just a battlefield to them. Human lives meant nothing. High above the burning cities, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the destruction from her hidden command center. The center was built 3 miles beneath the ocean floor in the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's oceans. No alien sensor had detected it because it wasn't supposed to exist. Admiral Chen was not the same person as Commander Chen who had died defending Earth. She was Commander Chen's older sister, and she had been waiting for this moment for 23 years. The command center buzzed with activity. Hundreds of technicians worked at stations filled with technology that looked nothing like anything the aliens had seen from Earth. Holographic displays showed star maps, ship positions, and data that would have amazed the galaxy's greatest scientists. "Status report," Admiral Chen ordered. Lieutenant Commander Torres stepped forward. He was a thin man with nervous eyes who had spent his entire career working on projects that officially didn't exist. "All hidden shipyards are ready, Admiral. The Luna base construction is complete. Asteroid facilities are online. Deep ocean yards are prepared for deployment." Admiral Chen nodded. For over 50 years, humanity had been preparing for this day. It had started when deep space telescopes first detected signs of alien civilization in distant star systems. Instead of announcing the discovery, A secret group of world leaders had made a different choice. They decided to prepare. The plan was simple, but massive. Humanity would continue to appear primitive, while secretly developing technology that could defend Earth. Hidden facilities were built in places no one would look. Underwater, inside hollowed-out asteroids on the far side of the moon, and in deep caves around the world, the project had consumed enormous resources. Every major nation contributed, but the work was done in complete secrecy. To the outside world, human space technology remained basic. The few ships that traveled to Mars and the outer planets were deliberately simple, designed to make humanity look harmless. Meanwhile, the real work happened in the shadows. "What's the fleet status?" Admiral Chen asked. "All vessels are ready for deployment," Torres replied. "Total count is 12,000 combat ships ranging from destroyers to dreadnoughts. Each ship is equipped with weapons and shields based on technology we reverse-engineered from alien signals we've been intercepting for decades." Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. The aliens thought humans were primitive because that's what humans wanted them to think. Every alien communication had been intercepted and studied. Every piece of alien technology that had drifted into human space had been analyzed and improved upon. The galaxy thought humans were still trying to reach their own moon. They had no idea that human ships had been secretly exploring nearby star systems for 30 years. "Admiral," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving another alien broadcast." The main screen activated, showing the elegant crystal ships of the assembly. Their leader appeared on screen, a being that looked like it was made of flowing light and crystal. When it spoke, its voice was like music, but the words were cold. "Inhabitants of the blue world, the hegemony grows desperate. They will soon attempt to use your planet's surface as a weapons platform. We regret that your species will not survive this action, but your sacrifice will serve the greater good of the galaxy." The transmission ended. Seconds later, the hegemony responded. Their leader was a massive reptilian creature with scales like black metal and eyes that glowed red. Its voice was harsh and threatening. "Primitive humans, the assembly speaks lies. They plan to strip mine your planet for resources to fuel their war effort. Your species is an acceptable loss for our victory. Do not interfere and your deaths will be quick." Admiral Chen watched both messages with cold fury. The aliens were discussing the extinction of humanity like it was a minor detail in their war. They had no idea what they were dealing with. "Admiral," Torres said quietly, "the alien fleets are moving into new positions. Our analysis suggests they're preparing for a final battle directly above major population centers." Chen stood up from her command chair. Around the hidden command center, hundreds of officers waited for her orders. These men and women had spent their lives preparing for this moment. They had trained in secret, using advanced simulators that taught them to fight battles the aliens had never imagined. "Open a channel to all hidden facilities," Chen ordered. The communication system connected her to command centers around the world and throughout the solar system. Faces appeared on screens. Commanders waiting in underwater bases, asteroid facilities, lunar installations, and deep space platforms. All of them had the same look in their eyes. They were ready. "This is Admiral Chen with Protocol Omega Authorization 77 Alpha, she said. "The aliens have made their intentions clear. They plan to destroy our planet and our people for their war. This ends now." She paused, looking at each commander on the screen. These people represented humanity's greatest secret and its greatest hope. "Begin fleet deployment. All ships are cleared for combat operations. Show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." Across Earth's solar system, things that had been hidden for decades began to move. On the far side of the moon, massive doors opened in what appeared to be empty craters. Inside the craters were shipyards that had been building vessels for 20 years. Deep under Earth's oceans, sections of the sea floor slid apart to reveal underground harbors filled with warships. The ships rose through the water, their hulls designed to handle the pressure of the deep ocean and the vacuum of space. In the asteroid belt, rocks that had looked natural for decades suddenly split open like flowers blooming. Inside were more ships, hidden in plain sight among the millions of asteroids that floated between Mars and Jupiter. The aliens continued their battle above Earth, completely unaware that they had just awakened something that would change the galaxy forever. They thought they were fighting over a primitive planet inhabited by simple creatures who barely understood fire. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Admiral Chen watched the deployment screens as thousands of human ships moved into position. The vessels were sleek and deadly, built with technology that combined human creativity with alien science. They had weapons that could tear through any known armor and shields that could absorb energy blasts that would destroy planets. Most importantly, they had human crews who had trained their entire lives for this moment. "All ships report ready for combat," Torres announced. Admiral Chen looked up at the battle raging above her planet. The aliens were so focused on each other that they hadn't noticed the new ships appearing throughout the solar system. That would change very soon. "Signal all vessels," she ordered. "Operation Omega is now active. Take us to war." The first human ships appeared near Earth's moon just as the alien battle reached its peak. To the aliens, they looked exactly like what they expected. Small, simple rescue vessels trying to save human civilians from the falling debris. Commander Zeth of the Hegemony Fleet barely glanced at the sensor readings. His reptilian eyes were focused on the assembly ships that dared to challenge his empire's claim to this strategic system. The primitive local ships were not worth his attention. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "we're detecting approximately 50 human vessels moving toward the planet's surface." "Ignore them," Zeth hissed. "Let the insects gather their young. It will make cleaning up easier when we claim this world." On the other side of the battle, Assembly Fleet Leader Kirana had a similar reaction. Her crystalline form pulsed with purple light as she coordinated her ship's psychic attacks against the brutal hegemony forces. The human vessels barely registered in her consciousness. The local species attempts to preserve itself, she noted to her subordinates, through their mental link. Their efforts are touching but pointless. When this battle ends, their world will serve our needs regardless. Both alien commanders were focused on each other, fighting a war that had consumed their civilizations for thousands of years. Neither noticed when the 50 human ships became 100, or when 100 became 300. Captain Marcus Webb commanded one of the first human ships to break cover. His vessel, the Earthship Defiance, looked like a simple transport craft from the outside. The alien sensors showed it as barely capable of interplanetary flight. Powered by primitive fusion engines and armed with basic projectile weapons, the sensors were lying. "Cloaking field is working perfectly," his weapons officer reported. "The alien scans are reading our fake hull signatures. They think we're running on technology from 50 years ago." Webb smiled grimly. The cloaking technology didn't make ships invisible. Instead, it made them appear to be something else entirely. Every human ship looked like a helpless civilian vessel to alien sensors, while actually being among the most advanced warships ever built. "How many ships are in position?" Webb asked. "Current count is 800 vessels and rising," his tactical officer replied. "Admiral Chen reports that full deployment will reach 12,000 ships within the next hour." Webb looked at his main screen, which showed the devastating battle between the alien fleets. Massive energy beams crossed space like lightning, and explosion after explosion lit up the darkness. Pieces of destroyed alien ships fell toward Earth's atmosphere, burning like meteors as they entered the sky. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving reports from the surface. The aliens just broadcast another message to Earth." The transmission appeared on Webb's screen. Commander Zeth of the Hegemony Fleet spoke with his mechanical translated voice. His red eyes glowed with satisfaction. "Primitive humans, your rescue efforts are pathetic. When we finish destroying the assembly fleet, we will establish military bases on your world. Your species will serve as workers in our factories. Resistance will result in immediate extinction." The message ended, replaced immediately by the assembly leader's response. Kirana's musical voice carried an undertone of smug superiority. "Developing sentience of the third planet, the hegemony speaks from desperation. When we achieve victory, your world will be converted into a processing station for our war effort. Your primitive minds cannot understand the honor we offer you." Both messages made it clear that neither alien faction saw humans as anything more than useful resources to be exploited or obstacles to be removed. Captain Webb felt his jaw clench. He had spent 20 years training for this moment, learning to fight battles that the aliens couldn't imagine. Every human in the secret fleet had grown up knowing that someday they might have to defend their world against threats from the stars. Now that day had come. "Signal Admiral Chen," Webb ordered. "Tell her the Defiance is ready to begin the demonstration." The confirmation came back immediately. Admiral Chen's voice was calm but carried an edge of steel that Webb had learned to respect during their years of training together. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. The aliens have made their intentions clear. They plan to enslave or destroy our people. They think we're helpless insects who can't fight back. Let's show them how wrong they are. She paused, and Webb could imagine her looking at the tactical displays that showed thousands of human ships hidden throughout the solar system. Begin Operation Revelation. Make them see us. Throughout the solar system, human ships began dropping their cloaking fields. The change was gradual at first. A few vessels near Mars suddenly appeared on alien sensors, showing their true capabilities. Their energy signatures revealed technology that should not have existed on a primitive world. Commander Zeth noticed the first readings and dismissed them as sensor errors. His technicians were probably making mistakes because of battle stress. But then more ships appeared. And more. What is happening? He demanded, his reptilian voice rising to a roar. His sensor officers stared at the displays in shock. Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. The readings suggest advanced fusion reactors, gravitational manipulation drives, and, sir, those are military-grade shield generators. That's impossible, Zeth snapped. This species barely understands nuclear fusion. On the other side of the battle, Assembly Fleet Leader Kirana was experiencing her own moment of confusion. Her psychic senses, which could detect the thoughts of most species, suddenly felt the presence of thousands of disciplined military minds. The mental patterns were unlike anything she had encountered before, focused, determined, and completely unafraid. Fleet Leader, one of her subordinates reported through their mental link, our sensors are detecting what appears to be a massive fleet of advanced warships. The vessels are using technology that rivals our own capabilities. Kirana's crystalline form flickered with uncertainty. That cannot be correct. Our intelligence reports indicate this species has not achieved faster-than-light travel. The readings are confirmed across all sensor arrays, the subordinate replied. Fleet Leader, there are thousands of them. Both alien commanders finally turned their full attention to the human ships. What they saw changed everything they thought they knew about Earth and its people. The human vessels were sleek and deadly, with hull designs that seemed to combine artistic beauty with perfect military function. Their energy signatures showed technology that was not just advanced, but innovative in ways that neither alien civilization had considered. More importantly, the ships were moving with tactical precision that spoke of years of training and preparation. They formed attack formations that were both familiar and strange, using patterns that followed no known military doctrine but somehow made perfect sense. Captain Webb watched the alien fleet's movements change as they realized what they were facing. The hegemony ships began turning away from their battle with the assembly, trying to analyze this new threat. The assembly vessels started forming defensive positions, their elegant formations disrupted by confusion and growing fear. Admiral Chen to all ships. The communication came through clearly. The aliens are beginning to understand. Time for the next phase. Webb smiled as he looked at his weapons displays. Every system showed green, ready to demonstrate what human engineering could accomplish when motivated by the defense of home. All ships, Admiral Chen's voice continued. You are cleared to engage. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity. Throughout the solar system, 12,000 human warships dropped all pretense and revealed themselves in their full deadly glory. The aliens had come to fight over Earth, treating humanity as an insignificant obstacle. They were about to learn that they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. The galaxy was about to discover what humans were truly capable of when their survival was at stake. The real battle was about to begin. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in her command center 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean and watched 12,000 human warships move into attack position. The alien fleets that had been fighting over Earth for weeks suddenly found themselves surrounded by a force they never saw coming. All ships report ready for combat, Lieutenant Commander Torres announced. Weapon systems are online. Shields are at maximum power. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The hegemony and assembly fleets were trying to reorganize, but their formations had been designed to fight each other, not to defend against a third force that had appeared from nowhere. Open a channel to both alien fleets, Chen ordered. The communication system activated, broadcasting on all frequencies that the aliens used. Chen's image appeared on screens throughout both enemy fleets, and her words were transmitted in every language the galaxy had ever recorded. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You came to our world without permission. You fought your war in our space without caring about our people. You planned to enslave or destroy us for your own purposes. This ends now. She paused, letting her words sink in. Throughout the alien fleets, commanders who had never considered humans a threat suddenly realized they were facing something completely unexpected. You have 30 seconds to begin retreating from our solar system, Chen continued. If you refuse, we will consider you hostile invaders and act accordingly. The response from the Hegemony fleet came immediately. Commander Zeth's reptilian face appeared on screen, his red eyes blazing with fury and disbelief. Impossible insects. Your primitive technology cannot threaten the might of the Hegemony. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. The Assembly Fleet leader, Kirana, materialized as a shimmering form of crystalline light. Her musical voice carried notes of confusion and growing concern. Developing sentience, you do not understand the forces you are challenging. Our civilizations have mastered warfare for 10,000 years. Withdraw your vessels before you are destroyed. Admiral Chen checked her chronometer. 30 seconds have passed. You have chosen war. She turned to her weapons officer. Begin the demonstration. Target the Hegemony flagship. Throughout the human fleet, weapon systems that had never been tested in real combat came online. The technology was a combination of reverse-engineered alien science and human innovation. Where alien weapons were designed for specific purposes, human weapons were built to adapt and evolve during battle. Captain Webb, commanding the Defiance, received his targeting orders and smiled grimly. His ship was one of 50 vessels assigned to attack the Hegemony flagship, a massive dreadnought that was twice the size of any human ship. All weapons, fire when ready, Webb ordered. The human attack began with a precision that shocked both alien fleets. 50 ships fired simultaneously at the Hegemony flagship, but their weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Traditional alien weapons fired energy beams or projectiles that traveled in straight lines. Human weapons did something different. They fired what appeared to be simple energy bolts. But these bolts could change direction in flight, split into multiple targeting systems, and recombine for maximum impact. The Hegemony flagship shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, couldn't adapt to attacks that changed their fundamental properties every few seconds. The human weapons tore through the alien defenses like they weren't there. Commander Zeth watched in horror as his most powerful ship took damage that should have been impossible. How are they penetrating our shields? He roared at his technicians. Sir, their weapons are adapting faster than our defensive systems can compensate, came the terrified reply. The energy signatures keep changing. Our shields can't lock onto a consistent pattern. The flagship shuddered as more human weapons struck home. Explosions rippled along its hull as systems overloaded and failed. In less than 2 minutes, the most powerful ship in the Hegemony fleet was crippled. But the humans weren't finished with their demonstration. Captain Lisa Rodriguez commanded the Earthship Vengeance, one of the vessels attacking the assembly fleet. Her target was a beautiful crystal ship that looked more like a work of art than a weapon of war. Target their power core, Rodriguez ordered. Let's see how pretty they look without their fancy lights. The human ships attacking the assembly used different tactics than those fighting the Hegemony. Where Hegemony vessels relied on heavy armor and brute force, assembly ships used elegant energy fields and psychic coordination. Human weapons adapted accordingly. Rodriguez's ship fired what looked like a simple missile, but the weapon carried a special payload designed specifically to disrupt psychic energy fields. When it struck the assembly vessel, the ship's beautiful crystal structure suddenly went dark as its psychic network was severed. Fleet Leader Kirana felt the psychic shockwave as one of her ships was cut off from the mental network that connected all assembly vessels. The sensation was like having a limb suddenly torn away. How did they disrupt our psychic matrix? She demanded, her crystalline form flickering with distress. Fleet Leader, their weapons appear to contain some form of psychic dampening field, one of her officers reported. The technology should not be possible for a non-psychic species. Throughout space around Earth, the human fleet demonstrated capabilities that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about warfare. Human ships moved in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were actually carefully coordinated. Their weapon systems reconfigured themselves mid-battle, changing from energy weapons to projectile systems to exotic technologies that the aliens couldn't identify. Most shocking of all, the humans fought with a creativity that the rigid alien military doctrines couldn't counter. Where hegemony tactics relied on overwhelming force and assembly strategies, depended on psychic coordination, human commanders made decisions that seemed insane until they worked perfectly. Captain Torres of the Earthship Retribution provided the most dramatic example. His ship was surrounded by 6 hegemony cruisers, all firing at once. Instead of trying to fight his way out, Torres did something no alien commander would ever consider. He rammed his ship directly into the largest enemy vessel. At the last second, Torres activated his ship's emergency teleportation system, transporting his entire crew to safety aboard another human vessel. The Retribution struck the hegemony cruiser at full speed, its hull packed with explosive charges that detonated on impact. The explosion destroyed both ships, but it also created a gap in the enemy formation that allowed 3 other human ships to escape a similar trap. Did that human just sacrifice his entire ship to save 3 others? Commander Zeth asked in disbelief. Yes, sir, his tactical officer replied, and somehow they saved the crew. We don't understand how they transported so many people so quickly. The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The alien fleets that had dominated space for centuries found themselves outfought by a species they had dismissed as primitive insects. Human ships swarmed through the alien formations like schools of fish, striking from unexpected angles and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Their weapons cut through alien defenses with ease, while their own shields adapted to block whatever the aliens threw at them. Most importantly, the human commanders fought with a desperation and determination that the aliens couldn't match. This was their home. These were their people. They would not lose. As the battle turned into a rout, Admiral Chen received reports from across the fleet. The aliens were trying to retreat, but they were discovering something that filled them with terror. Admiral, Torres reported, both alien fleets are attempting to flee the system. However, our deep space vessels have established blockade positions at all jump points. Chen smiled coldly. The aliens had come to Earth believing they could fight their war in human space without consequences. They had assumed that humanity was too primitive to threaten them. They were learning that assumption had been a fatal mistake. Signal both fleets, Chen ordered. Tell them that no ship leaves this system until we decide they can go. The galaxy's 2 most powerful military forces found themselves trapped in the very system they had come to conquer. And the species they had planned to enslave was dictating terms to them. The war that was supposed to be fought over Earth had become humanity's debut as the galaxy's newest superpower. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in her command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, looking at tactical displays that showed the remains of 2 alien fleets trying desperately to escape the Sol system. In 12 hours of fighting, humanity had destroyed over 60% of the hegemony fleet and 50% of the assembly ships. The rest were damaged and fleeing in panic, but Chen wasn't finished with them yet. Status report, she ordered. Lieutenant Commander Torres stepped forward with a tablet full of data. Both alien fleets are attempting to retreat, but our blockade ships are holding all exit points. The hegemony fleet is down to 300 operational vessels. The assembly has about 400 ships left. Chen nodded. The aliens had come to Earth with nearly 2,000 ships between them, confident that they could fight their war in human space without consequences. Now they were learning what happened when you threatened humanity's home. Casualties on our side? Chen asked. 47 ships lost, Admiral. Total crew casualties are less than 3,000 thanks to our emergency evacuation protocols. Chen felt a moment of sadness for the brave souls who had died defending Earth, but she also felt pride. Human tactics had proven superior to anything the galaxy's ancient civilizations could offer. The aliens had lost over 1,000 ships while humanity had lost fewer than 50. Admiral, the communications officer called out, we're receiving surrender requests from both alien fleets. Put them through. Commander Zeth appeared on the main screen first. The proud reptilian warrior looked broken and defeated. His red eyes had lost their fire and his voice was barely above a whisper. Admiral Chen, the hegemony fleet requests mercy. We surrender our vessels and ask for safe passage from your system. The transmission ended, replaced immediately by Fleet Leader Kirana. The crystal being's usual elegant glow had dimmed to almost nothing, and her musical voice was filled with disbelief. Admiral Chen, the Assembly acknowledges defeat. We did not understand what we were facing. We request permission to withdraw our surviving ships. Chen looked at both alien commanders for a long moment before responding. These beings had come to her world planning to enslave or destroy 8 billion human lives. They had treated her people like insects not worth considering. Now they were begging for mercy from the insects they had tried to crush. Your requests are denied, Chen said calmly. You came to our space as invaders. You will leave as something else entirely. She turned to Torres. Open a channel to the entire galaxy. Maximum broadcast power on all frequencies. The communications system activated, sending Chen's signal across hundreds of light years of space. Her message would reach every major civilization in the galaxy within hours. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force, speaking from the Sol system. For the past 50 years, the galaxy has believed that humanity is a primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel. Today, we reveal the truth. Chen paused, knowing that her words were being recorded by intelligence services throughout the galaxy. Everything she said would be analyzed and studied by alien governments trying to understand this new threat. Humanity has been aware of galactic civilization for decades. We have intercepted your communications, studied your technology, and prepared for this day. We chose to appear weak while building strength in secret. On her tactical display, Chen could see the alien fleet still trying to find a way out of the Sol system. Human ships blocked every escape route, their weapons trained on the invaders who had come to conquer Earth. The hegemony and assembly fleets came to our world believing they could fight their war in our space. They planned to use Earth as a battlefield, with no regard for human life. They have learned that this was a mistake. Chen's voice hardened as she continued. Let this be a message to every civilization in the galaxy. Earth is not a prize to be won or a resource to be exploited. Humanity will defend our world and our people with whatever force is necessary. She gestured to the tactical display showing the destroyed alien ships. The fleets that came to conquer us have been defeated. Their surviving vessels are trapped in our system at our mercy. Throughout the galaxy, alien governments received Chen's broadcast with shock and growing alarm. Species that had dismissed humanity as irrelevant suddenly realized they had been completely wrong about Earth's capabilities. On the hegemony homeworld, Supreme Commander Vex watched the broadcast with his war council. The massive reptilian leader had ruled the hegemony for 3 centuries, conquering dozens of worlds with his unstoppable fleets. How is this possible? He demanded. Our intelligence reports indicated that humans had barely achieved fusion power. Sir, his intelligence chief replied nervously, it appears our intelligence was deliberately deceived. The humans have been hiding their true capabilities for decades. On the Assembly's crystal world, the High Council gathered in their grand chamber of light and thought. These ancient beings had guided galactic civilization for thousands of years, believing themselves to be the most advanced species in the galaxy. The humans have demonstrated technology that rivals our own, Council Leader Thrain observed through the psychic network. How did we fail to detect their advancement? They wanted us to underestimate them, another council member replied. This was planned from the beginning. Back in the Sol system, Admiral Chen continued her broadcast to the galaxy. However, humanity is not a warlike species. We do not seek conquest or domination. We want only to be left in peace to develop our civilization. She looked directly into the camera, her eyes hard as steel. But if you threaten our world or our people, you will face the same fate as these fleets. Humanity will not be bullied, enslaved, or destroyed. We are not the primitive species you believed us to be. Chen turned to Torres. Signal the blockade ships. Begin escorting the alien survivors to the edge of our system. What about their surrender requests? Torres asked. Denied, Chen replied. They don't get to surrender after planning genocide. They leave with their lives, but they leave as a warning to others. Throughout the Sol system, human ships began herding the surviving alien vessels toward the outer edge of the system. The aliens were allowed to repair their most critical systems, but their weapons were disabled and their navigation computers were monitored. Captain Webb, commanding the Defiance, escorted a group of damaged hegemony ships toward the system's edge. His communications officer looked confused as he read the sensor data. "Sir, why are we letting them go? They came here to destroy us." Webb smiled grimly. "Because dead martyrs inspire revenge. Humiliated survivors spread fear. The Admiral wants the galaxy to know what happens when you threaten Earth." As the alien fleets limped away from Earth, Chen's broadcast continued to spread throughout the galaxy. Every species that received it had the same reaction: shock, fear, and a desperate need to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about humanity. On distant worlds, alien leaders called emergency meetings. Trade routes were rerouted to avoid human space. Military commanders scrambled to analyze the new threat that had appeared seemingly overnight. The galaxy had spent thousands of years believing that they knew all the major powers and civilizations. Suddenly, a species they had dismissed as primitive had demonstrated technology and tactics that surpassed anything they had seen. Admiral Chen ended her broadcast with words that would be remembered throughout galactic history. "Humanity takes its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as defenders of our own destiny. We ask for peace, but we are prepared for war. The choice is yours." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy to contemplate a new reality. Earth was no longer a backwater world inhabited by primitive creatures. It was the home of a species that had outsmarted and outfought the galaxy's greatest military powers. In her command center, Admiral Chen watched the last alien ships disappear into hyperspace, carrying their tale of defeat back to their home worlds. The immediate threat to Earth was over, but she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Every alien civilization would now have to decide how to deal with this new power that had appeared in their midst. Chen looked at the tactical display, showing human ships returning to their hidden bases throughout the solar system. Soon these vessels would disappear again, making the galaxy wonder just how many ships humanity really had. Let them wonder, Chen thought. Fear of the unknown was often more powerful than fear of the known. Earth was safe, and humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage. The species that had once looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone now knew the answer. They were not alone, but they were no longer helpless either. The galaxy belonged to humanity now, whether the aliens liked it or not.